Hey guys, this is Elena from We Learn to Share, and welcome to the first video of AP Comparative Politics. And in this video, we're going to cover the very first unit, Unit 1, 1.1, the practice of political scientists. And let's move on to the first key point. So first, we're going to talk about political science disciplines. And remember that there are 4 disciplines when it comes to political science. First discipline would be American politics. And the second one would be international relations. I will write that as IR. And then you'll have political theories, where you would have like political philosophers like John Locke or so on. And lastly, this is what we're going to study from now on, which is comparative politics. And comparative politics is a study where you compare different political systems among different countries to derive the conclusions about politics and derive the general trend or derive the general phenomenon of the political behaviors of people and so on. And when it comes to the next bullet point, why and how to compare. First of all, we're going to compare mainly 6 countries, which is UK, Iran, Russia, China, Nigeria, and Mexico. So these are the 6 key countries we're going to cover, and we're going to compare among the courses, among these studies when it comes to AP Comparative Politics. And we compare these countries by using empirical data and drawing observations or drawing conclusions from the observations by comparing the data and collecting the data and comparing and analyzing these empirical data. And we do this to get an insight of the different or similar patterns or trends of the political behaviors among the countries. And yeah, that is pretty easy, right? And remember that there are 2 types of data in general. So the first type of data would be quantitative data and qualitative data. The quantitative data would be something that is numerical, that will have numbers, and the qualitative data would be something that will have a descriptive analysis and descriptive values. And qualitative data would be concerning the descriptive data, descriptive analysis. And because this is not AP statistics class, we're not going to specifically compare the difference between quantitative and qualitative, but you'll be able to manage it when you actually meet these different type of data in your AP exam. Now we're going to move on to the correlation and causation part. You say that correlation exists when there is a certain kind of association between 2 variables, 2 or more variables. And causation exists when there is a cause and there's an effect, right? So when one variable causes the another variable to happen or so on, but it is actually kind of difficult in comparative politics to determine with certainty. And a clear misconception about correlation and causation is that when 2 or more variables have correlation, there is causation. But that is wrong, right? You cannot guarantee that there is 100% causation between 2 variables just because they have a correlation. But on the other hand, when you say that there is a causation between 2 variables, you can say that there is a correlation. But you can't do this vice versa. So you can't say that because there is correlation, there is causation. So you can't say that this is wrong and this is right. So always remember that there is a difference between causation and correlation. And just because there's a correlation between 2 variables, it does not guarantee that there is also a causation between 2 variables. And now let's move on to this sample question, which was actually a question that came out in AP Comparative Politics in the past exams. Identify the statement that describes a correlation. Identify the statement that describes a causal relationship. Explain the difference between causation and correlation. Let's look at this more specifically. Statement A says that governments should expand access to education for women and girls. And statement B says that expanding access to education for females increases rates of political participation. And statement C says that advanced liberal democracies tend to have higher rates of female literacy. And statement D says that female access to education is limited worldwide. Okay, you can pause for a minute if you want to solve this by your own. And now I'm going to tell you the answer. So statement A and D would be nothing. It neither describes a correlation nor a causal relationship. But you can say that a statement that describes a correlation is statement B or B and C. And the statement that describes a causal relationship is only B. All right. I told you before that having a causation do imply that there is a correlation. And you can say that statement B clearly implies a causal relationship, right? Because it says that expanding access to education for females, this increases the rates of political participation. So this would be the cause of the increased rates of political participation. So statement B clearly describes a causal relationship, and because it describes a causal relationship, it will definitely describe a correlation also, right? But over here, C, advanced liberal democracies tend to have higher rates of female literacy. This does not guarantee 100%, right? So there is a relationship. So it tends to have higher rates of female literacy. That is right. So it describes a correlation, right? So it applies to the statement that has a correlation, but it does not describe a causal relationship because it is not 100% guaranteed, right? It's just the word that it tends to have it. And over here, you need to explain the differences between causation and correlation. And over here, I would strongly recommend you guys to not only just mention the definitions, the mere definitions of causation of correlation, but actually explain the difference, compare and contrast these two. So you would like to have a comparison word like where, less, or however, or on the other hand. And let me write you a simple answer for this. Let's say that when two or more variables are correlated, there is an apparent association between the two variables, between them. However, but the nature of the relationship is unclear, which means that when there is a correlation between two variables, you cannot guarantee if it rather has a causation, if it also has a causal relationship between these two correlated variables. However, or whereas, so this is the part where you have a comparison word, whereas causation implies a relationship such that a change in one variable produces a change in the second variable. So these two are correlated. Right? This is what I just explained over and over here, right? If the two variables are correlated, you cannot 100% imply that there is a causation between them. Whereas when there is a causal relationship between two variables, then you can 100% say that these two variables have a correlation. This would be the end of the video, and thanks for watching. See you in the next video.